Change my mind on the Monday, boys. Patrick Mahomes, Sean, we'll start with you just because you have the killer hat. Mr. Mahomes could retire right now and is a first ballot Hall of Famer. Change my mind.
Oh, obviously, there's no need to change your mind for that one. You know damn well that he's a first ballot Hall of Famer. I think that he's the rare breed where there's a chance that the last 5 or 6 years of his career, we're calling him the greatest of all time. How many athletes can we say that about? I think about Michael Jordan. Who was widely regarded in the NBA as the best player of all time before Jordan came around? I'm not sure there was a consensus. Maybe you get 3 or 4 different answers. But for the last 4 or 5 years of his career, everybody knew it was Jordan. That's crazy. Mahomes has a chance, if he keeps racking them up at this pace, where when he's 37, 38 years old, we're looking at him as the greatest of all time. And then he's still got another 4 or 5 years left to play. He still has 10 years left on this contract, guys. So, yeah, clearly, Patrick Mahomes is one of the greatest, probably the second best quarterback of all time. And if he never played another snap, they should let him in the Hall of Fame tomorrow.
Yeah, so, I mean, if he's not the greatest of all time, it's Tom Brady, right? But you see the fat head in the back there? That was the guy that I always had as my number 2. I love Dan Marino. Rings don't matter. Ring conversation doesn't matter, right? Dan Marino finished with no Super Bowl rings. But if you look at Aaron Rodgers' career stats in the playoffs, 22 games, his long career. He's going to be 40 years old. A QB rating of 100, 45 touchdowns, 13 picks. Pat Mahomes is only 28 years old. 28 years old. He hasn't even hit 30 years old yet, and he already has more playoff wins than any quarterback in NFL history. He has a passer rating of 105.8 with 5,135 passing yards, 41 touchdowns, and 8 picks in 18 games in the playoffs in his career. 3 Super Bowl rings already. 1 Super Bowl loss. The other loss came to Tom Brady in a championship game. Yes,
in
first
overtime.
Ballot Hall of Famer. Put him in right now. I mean, he's the greatest of all time. Oh, and the Tampa loss too. I like to forget about that because of what happened 2 weeks prior when my Green Bay Packers couldn't cash in 3 straight red zone trips against that Tampa team at Lambeau Field. Damn it, that should have been us against you, Levine. We don't count that one. Pat Mahomes, yes, first Ballot Hall of Famer, guys. I told my son yesterday, my son's 10 years old, that was the second Super Bowl that we've watched now where he sat on the couch from the first quarter, from the coin toss, which we actually won, by the way. We both had heads. We took heads yesterday. We got the Gatorade bath as well, which ended up being a chalky favorite. Minus 125 in some markets is where the Gatorade closed at. The the purple Gatorade.
There you go.
But man, I told my, it's Monday after Vegas for sure. Woo. I told my son, I said, I can't make many promises in life, but this will be the last time that Patrick Mahomes is ever an underdog in a Super Bowl. They win the back-to-backs, but he was a slight dog against Philly last year. They were the Chiefs, and they win the game 25-22. Mahomes didn't get off to his best start, had the early interception, but man, he was awesome when it mattered the most. And everybody stepped up and made a play. Former Green Bay Packer, MVS, Mahomes, 34 of 46, 333 yards, goes over his passing yards, which closed at 262.5, throws 2 touchdowns, and individually just throws the team on his back. Late in the game, in overtime, when he puts the team literally, like I said, on his back and uses his legs, he's trucking guys over. I mean, that was in my opinion, his LeBron, his MJ moment, man. I mean, he was so damn good. 9 carries for 66 yards. He had the design quarterback run, which great play call from Andy Reid. Sean, as a Chiefs fan, you're a lucky man to have this guy. But I don't really have any hot takes because I thought Kyle Shanahan was actually pretty good. Now, again, you got to get McCaffrey more touches in the third quarter. That's what you do against this Kansas City defense. But that run defense stepped up. Maybe you get Mitchell some more carries. He had the fresher legs. I don't know. I mean, all season long, my one issue with San Francisco, with their offensive line, I thought they were a tad bit overrated. And Trent Williams, as great as he is, in my opinion, the best left tackle in football, how many mental mistakes did we see? How many penalties did we see? I mean, so I guess you could maybe blame that on coaching, but Trent was rough yesterday, man. He had a bad game. And my issue with the Niners all season long, other than that secondary, their safety play, was the interior of that offensive line, the left side of that offensive line. Chiefs run defense stepped up, but still, you got to get McCaffrey more touches. The one decision maybe that I would rip from Shanahan, 3rd and 4. I don't know why you're going empty with not even the threat of Christian McCaffrey with the season on the line. Knowing that if you don't convert there, you're playing for a field goal. And then Mahomes is getting the ball in overtime. How do you think that ends? We've seen that story. So how do you not, with the season on the line there, I don't know, call me crazy, I'd probably go to McCaffrey, and it's 4-down territory. Like I said, maybe you go to Eli Mitchell. I would have put the ball on the ground in that situation, or at least had McCaffrey in the backfield. I don't know. I didn't like that call. And Purdy had a fine game. I thought Purdy actually played really well. So it's not like I'm putting the ball in his hands. But I thought it was a perfect game plan from Kyle Shanahan. I really think what screwed the San Francisco 49ers, to be honest with you, was the missed extra point, the tipped or blocked extra point, because that makes it a 4-point game. Then late in that game, it's 4-down territory. The Chiefs can't take the field goal to tie the game. And that's not to say Mahomes isn't putting the ball in the end zone. He probably is. I mean, he literally throws the team on his back in overtime. We saw what he did with his legs. He's trucking guys over. People are ripping him for having a dad bod. That guy, what an athlete. But I think that's what cost San Francisco the game, man. And then Shanny, like he does sometimes, tightened up a little bit. Andy Reid had his team obviously more prepared for overtime because they knew the damn rules. But I don't come in here with like a hot take that Kyle Shanahan should be fired or that he sucked, because I thought it was a perfect game plan and he should legitimately have 3 Super Bowl rings if he didn't coach in an era where Patrick Mahomes and Tom Brady play, because that's the issue for Shanny, man, is he has to go up against the 2 GOATs, in my opinion. But I'm actually going to call George Kittle the most underrated player in the NFL, and I'll tell you why. If you would have told me, as I'm rewatching this game right now, if you would have told me that Trent Williams was out with me at the sports book, and then the nightclub at Aria until 4 a.m. the night before the game, I would believe you. Like, what the hell was up with him in the first quarter? So George Kittle, the reason his receiving numbers, aren't always the best is because he's pretty much become, under Kyle Shanahan, who I do love, but under Kyle Shanahan, a glorified left tackle. I mean, you go back and you watch him even in Iowa, man, at Iowa. I mean, he's one of the better blocking tight ends, if not the best blocking tight end in the league. And I think that takes away a lot of the time from what he could do in the receiving game, unfortunately. But I mean, I agree. Yesterday, I wanted to see more George Kittle. But that's the problem, man. That offensive line, overrated for San Francisco. Trent Williams, still the best tackle in all of football, except for yesterday, especially in the first half of that game. But the interior of that offensive line has been an issue. It's been disguised because Brock Purdy gets rid of the ball quickly because they go out and they acquire Christian McCaffrey. But that was the issue for San Francisco all season long. So that's the only case I can make against that take, is Kittle's a damn good blocker.
I mean, I feel good. I mean, I think you kind of hit on a lot of important things there. I mean, it kind of just seems from the fluke factor that every other year or so they have some kind of major injury that can derail them. I mean, certainly they've had at the quarterback spot through the years. We've seen guys like Trent Williams and Deebo Samuel and Christian McCaffrey early in his career all have major injuries, but they've got the personnel. I mean, you said it. I mean, they can pretty much bring back the band. I mean, we'll see if they try to re-sign guys like Chase Young and some of their offensive linemen. But I mean, basically all the core guys are going to stay in place. Next year will be the last year that they can. I mean, presumably it'll be the last year they have Brock Purdy, on this sub $1 million salary. He can't negotiate for more money until 2025. So they're I think you kind of hit on it. They're basically in Super Bowl or bust mode, I think, next season. After that, this roster's probably going to change. They'll have a decision to make on Brandon Ayuk at some point, whether they try to extend him now or kick that can down the road to 2025. But I think clearly they're the class of the NFC. They're not going to have to go through the gauntlet that the Chiefs will again when Joe Burrow is back and Aaron Rodgers is back and Nick Chubb is back and the Houston Texans are better, plus the Bills, plus the Ravens. If I had to pick one of these two teams who'd be back in the Super Bowl next year, I think I'd be more comfortable picking the 49ers than the Chiefs.